let's let that roll. When this timer hits 0, guys, we are going to roll.
Air 44 Quebec, descend and maintain 4,000.
Miami Center, King Air 559er Delta Whiskey.
Air 559er Delta Whiskey, Miami Center. Here's your loud and clear. How me?
I got declared emergency. My pilot's unconscious. I need help up here.
Air 559er Delta Whiskey, Roger, and stand by 1. 4 miles approach, 4 miles low, 724 line.
4 miles approach, 4 miles low.
4 miles approach, 4 miles low, 724 line emergency.
All right.
559er Delta Whiskey has an unconscious pilot. He needs help. Do you want me to put him back on you?
Need help?
Where's he going? He's just stand by. Air 559er Delta Whiskey, sir, your intentions.
I need to get this thing on the ground. I'm flying the King Air.
Air 559er Delta Whiskey, I understand. Are you a pilot? The pilot unconscious.
My pilot's deceased. I'm a single-handed pilot, low time.
Miami 49.
I need help. I need a King Air pilot to talk to.
All right, all aircraft stand by. Air 559er Delta Whiskey. And are you at the cockpit now?
I am co-pilot seat. Get him out.
Air 9er Delta Whiskey, understand you are able to fly an aircraft?
Single engine. I need to get off this. I'm going through 11,000. I need to get level.
Air 9er Delta Whiskey, go ahead and level off at 1,000.
I want to do that with unset this autopilot.
Air 9er Delta Whiskey, roger. 461, contact Miami approach 133.77.
3377, 0461.
American 2234, contact Miami approach 120.5.
20.5, American 2234.
Vonto 108, descend and maintain 8,000, next ride down.
Hurry down to 8,000, Vonto 108.
There you go. Air 9er Delta Whiskey, are you able to maintain 12,000?
Do I turn off the altimeter or not? It's steady climbing, and but it looks to me like my altitude descent is on 10,000. I don't know why I keep going climbing. Figure out how to level off.
And November 9er Delta Whiskey, okay, and you think the autopilot is on?
I know it's on.
And or 9er Delta Whiskey, yeah, right. Can you tell what altitude it says it's going to climb to?
The altitude said is 10,000, but I'm going through 13 now. It should have leveled off at 10, so how do I stop that is what I want to know.
559er Delta Whiskey only, and understand. So we're trying to find some help out here, and you're still on a climb?
Still climbing through 14,000. I can turn my altitude set to 15. Maybe that'll stop it.
You said it's set at 15,000?
It's set at 10,000, 10,000, but it went through that. So I need to, if I set it to 16,000, will it level off or not under altitude set? 9er Delta Whiskey?
All right, November 9er Delta Whiskey. Okay, I understand you're going to be leveling off at 15,000. Is that what you're showing on the autopilot?
No, autopilot once again says 10,000. I've already busted 10,000. I'm steady climbing. I need to stop the climb. Stay with me, Miami. Let's go.
559er Delta Whiskey. I'm here. Don't worry. We're trying to find a solution to that. Stand by.
For me on the 50. Okay, number 5, Delta Whiskey. When you look at the center console there, you don't see anything with the, you see the autopilot's unable to disengage?
I don't know. I know where the autopilot switch is down here. It's on engage right now. I can engage it if you disengage it. That's fine.
Number 5 Delta Whiskey. Disengage the autopilot. We're gonna have you hand fly the plane.
All right. Do you want me to disengage the autopilot?
Number 5 Delta Whiskey. Affirmative. Disengage the autopilot.
All right, disengaging autopilot. I need to pull back on the throttle some, correct?
Number 5 Delta Whiskey. Native, you can hold the yoke. You got are you holding the yoke now level?
Yeah, I can disengage the autopilot right now.
Okay, hold the yoke level, disengage the autopilot.
Say again?
Hold the yoke level and disengage the autopilot, number 5 Delta Whiskey.
I disengaged it. I'm flying the airplane by hand.
Okay, number 5 Delta Whiskey. Can you try my showing you now at 17,000.
You find me the longest, widest runway you can, ma'am.
5 Delta Whiskey, Roger. I'm going to try to keep you hold the plane level. You're doing pretty good, 17,200. Try to hold the plane now at 17,000.
All right, 17.3 right now.
Number 5 Delta Whiskey, Roger. Okay, number 9 or Delta Whiskey, just so you know what we're doing here, we're going to get you down to 1,000. We're going to make you give you a turn to the west. We're going to hand you off to Fort Myers Approach, and they've got some controllers there that also have pilot experience, and they're going to talk you all the way in down to the landing there. Do you have any experience in a King Air?
Negative.
9, number 5 Delta Whiskey, you're doing a real good job. Just keep you doing a very good holding your heading, a real nice descent there.
You got me heading almost due north.
Number 5 Delta Whiskey, affirmative. I just didn't want to turn you while you're descending. If you're comfortable with that, I'll give you a turn out to the west while you're descending. That's up to you. Would you like to continue straight during the descent or make a turn with the descent?
I can make a turn with the descent. I don't need any weather up here right now either, ma'am.
Okay, I'm not showing any weather on my radar here, but I only show precipitation. But let me just make sure I confirm what you said. You said you'd like to make a turn to the left while you're descending?
I can do that.
Okay, number 5 Delta Whiskey, just a nice, easy turn to the left, whatever you're comfortable, real shallow, real gentle on the controls. You're going to turn left, fly a heading of about a 270 heading, and continue that descent down to 1,000, whatever you're comfortable with.
Left 270 down to 1,000, King Air 9 Delta Whiskey.
Number 9 Delta Whiskey, affirmative. You're doing a real nice job, real smooth.
215.
All right, number 9 Delta Whiskey, you got any questions about what you're doing right now? Are you okay?
Yeah, we're great. 9 Delta Whiskey, thank you.
On that heading, you're doing well, and we'll level it. Looks like you're just about level at 1,000 there, holding it well. And now, if you can, it's going to be 132.07.
Would I push 2 to change that frequency?
Do you have it set up in the second radio, sir?
I do.
Yep, you would switch to. So what I'm going to do, number 5 Delta Whiskey, is contact Fort Myers Approach 132.07 by pushing 2. If you do not get them, just switch it again, and you'll be talking to me.
Thanks.
Number 5 Delta Whiskey, Roger.
King Air 559er Delta Whiskey, Fort Myers Approach, Jan.
Fort Myers Center, King Air 559er Delta Whiskey.
King Air 559er Delta Whiskey, Fort Myers Approach. And are you in a descent right now, sir?
I am. What you want me to do is hold it or what?
Actually, if you can, we can just start a descent down to 5,000, and we're getting some help from another pilot that's familiar with the airplane. We'll get you some information. Can you descend the airplane?
I can, down to 5,000 on the heading 270. This is a King Air 200.
King Air 9er Delta Whiskey, Roger. We're passing that information now. If you're able, fly heading 240 and descend and maintain 5,000. Just take your time. We'll set you up for the airport.
All right, 240 to 5,000, 9er Delta Whiskey.
And November 9er Delta Whiskey, are you using the autopilot or are you flying the airplane?
Me and the good Lord's hand flying this 9er Delta Whiskey.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
So he and the good Lord are hand flying that airplane. That is one of my favorite clips. You know that, guys. Welcome to the VFR Radio Communications webinar. The secret to VFR Radio Communications. My name is Jason Shepard. We're going to share a little bit more about that here in just a bit. Few little ground rules. Well, first off, back to that clip. Again, I just wanted to kind of play something while I was getting all my ducks in a row, getting the green tea made up, getting the all the monitors here at MzeroA.com, World Headquarters, Mission Control, all configured here. But really, it shows you the power of strong VFR radio communications, and of course, it shows it in a humorous, manner. In that case, I would love to meet that guy one day. The pilot of 9er Delta Whiskey. In that case, that seems like a cool guy. Anyways, guys, so few ground rules really quick. You are watching The Secret to VFR or Radio Communications. I cannot hear you. I cannot see you. If there are kids screaming, dogs barking at your house, if it's complete chaos, it's not going to distract me one bit. However, when the dogs start barking here and everything else, well, you're going to hear every bit of it. And at that point, I will welcome you to the Shappert family. Because you will be an honorary member. You basically are now anyways at this point. Guys, if you have any questions at any point, you have a handy dandy GoToWebinar control panel. There is a questions box. If you're on an iPad or another tablet, there's a question mark in the top right-hand corner. You can tap that. You can type in your questions there, and myself or our wonderful team here at MzeroA.com is going to be monitoring that and checking all those questions out and getting you a great reply. This is being recorded, so I can see, as Bridget has already asked, will there be a replay? Absolutely. I'm going to have that replay up tomorrow, and I'll be emailing about that as well as posting that on MzeroA.com. For you guys to check out. So if you ever come in late or if you have to head out early, no big deal. You'll be able to catch the recording. So I'm going to grab a sip of this green tea. Again, this is all live, so you guys get to enjoy all the ambiance. Is that the right word? I don't think so. But let me grab a sip of green tea. We'll get started here real quick. So you guys might be wondering, well, who the heck is this Jason guy that we're listening to? And really, it's more than just Jason. It is a team behind MzeroA.com, but we'll chat about that here in just a second. We have a flight training blog, really a flight training community called MzeroA.com. And we are really the first to pioneer the use of cameras externally mounted. As you can see from a lot of these photos here in this case. Externally mounted cameras for the purposes of flight training. Imagine seeing a steep turn from this perspective, a landing from this perspective or this perspective, and you can see all those videos on our YouTube channel. This allowed us, guys, to have the #1 rated online ground school by a lot of the large aviation news sources out there. And very proud to still hold that rating. Also allowed us to write over 8 books. This is 6 of them. Here you see Pass Your Private Pilot Check Ride 2.0, Pass Your Instrument Pilot Check Ride, all actual FAA examiners test prep questions. I've sat in on hundreds of check rides, written down every question asked on them, compiled them into a book, gave you the proper check ride answer and what it means to you to be a safer, smarter pilot, and compiled it into a book, as well as an audio book where I say the question, pause for a second, let you think about the answer, and then give you the right answer. It's kind of like a mock check ride on your iPod, iPhone, whatever you use. FAR-AIM in plain English, we literally took the FAR-AIM, took everything you don't need to know, took it out of there, and left everything just what you need to know for your sport and private pilot certificate. Instrument Pilot 1 is coming here soon as well. And broke it down into plain conversational English. In-Flight Emergencies, a step-by-step guide to handle the unexpected. Great book. Also very blessed to rewrite the Pilot's Handbook of Aeronautical Knowledge, the Airplane Flying Handbook, alongside the FAA. Done all that. We have the only one of its type, Aviation Seminar at Sea. Now I need to update this image. Now on to our 3rd annual this year, literally renewing your pilot certificate at sea and attending great seminars live, like the one you're listening to right now. And of course, we visit Airport Beach in St. Martin, where the airplanes land right over top of you. And of course, the brave attendees hang on the airport fence at Airport Beach, or what's called Maho Beach locally. So right now you're wondering, well, how does Jason manage to do all this stuff? Well, I'll tell you the truth. The truth behind it is I've got a wonderful team here at MzeroA.com. Here is myself, my lovely wife, Ashley, who's the real brains behind everything. Here's the farm. You ready for this? The goats are Prop, Rudder, and Strut. And the dogs are Pedo and Magneto. So we have quite the aviation-themed household. I, however, am not in charge of naming children when it comes time for that. For some reason, Ashley didn't give me that responsibility. I just can't quite figure out why. So anyways, the real team guys behind everything, there's Ashley, Larry, Mark, Rodney, Will, and Keith, all of which are on this webinar right now and helping you out with your questions as they come in. So if you get a question, it's going to be from one of these fine individuals here, helping you out with all your questions. And of course, I'll personally take some questions and read those aloud at the very end of this webinar. So guys, what we're going to talk about today. What I want to talk about today is this. I want to first talk about controlled operations. I find that there's two types of people when it comes to VFR radio communications. There's those that struggle with talking to another human, like an air traffic controller. And there's those who grew up in the controlled environment who think the uncontrolled environment is the wild, wild west. Well, we're going to do our best to break both those myths down and help both those individuals. And we're going to start by talking about some controlled operations. By that, I mean Class D, C, and B, departures and arrivals and working in that system. We're going to talk about pilot controlled. That's the new buzzword I'm trying to use, by the way. I'm trying to use the word pilot controlled because what happens, as we all know, aviation has a bad rap sometimes in the media, where you hear, and the pilot was at an uncontrolled airport where there was no supervision. Thinking, well, you know, uncontrolled, you tell a non-pilot an airport is uncontrolled, and you can see how their mind wanders with that, and they can play that however they want. But the truth of the matter is, it's not an uncontrolled airport. It's a pilot-controlled airport because we're controlling where we're going and what we're doing. So that's a new phrase I'm trying to use in that case. But pilot-controlled airport arrivals and departures. And the big one we're going to talk about is VFR flight following. Guys, VFR flight following is such a great service. And I find that too many pilots shy away from using VFR flight following simply because they don't know how. They're intimidated. These approach controllers are so busy. Would they ever have time for me? What if they ask me something I don't know? Well, I'm going to show you some real simple formulas for picking up and certainly maintaining VFR flight following in that case. So that's kind of what we're going to cover. I want you guys to have your notepads ready. You're going to want to take some notes. We're going to cover a lot of really good stuff. So if you have pen and paper within arm's reach, you're going to want to grab it. Also, you're going to have something to drink. I'm going to grab a sip of green tea here, and then we're going to get rolling. Before we get too terribly far, I want to start with a story. Those of you that have been following MzeroA.com for quite some time and have been on my webinars, maybe you're an online ground school member and you participate in the webinars I do every week, you've heard a lot of my stories. I don't believe I've ever really shared this story. I've maybe shared it with my ground school members, but not in this great a detail. So this is my first time sharing this story. And I share this story not for you to say, man, Jason, you made a lot of silly mistakes early on in your training. Well, you know what the truth of the matter is, we all did. Not everyone's willing to admit to it, though. But it's these kind of things that shape us in this case. And it's these kind of things that allow me to be in front of you today as a certified flight instructor with over 8,000 hours and show you, hey, this is a dumb thing I did. And this is how you don't do that same dumb thing. So I had just recently soloed. This is way back in the day. I had just recently soloed. Those of you that have heard my pre-solo story about literally missing the runway at one point, I shared that story on the Secret to Perfect Landings webinar. You guys know the story. So just soloing for me was an accomplishment in this case. So I had just knocked out my solo. I was flying at the Ocala Airport, little uncontrolled, pilot-controlled airport. And I needed my 3 takeoffs and landings at a controlled field per 61109, Section A, Subpart 5, that you have to have. If you're operating out of a pilot-controlled airport, you need to have 3 takeoffs and landings to a full stop at a controlled field. Well, that was, no big deal. So I flew up to the Gainesville Airport, KGNV. I had been to Gainesville twice before. But I had been up there twice before with my instructor, obviously. And when I went up there with my instructor, we did things a little bit differently. For example, when we flew into Gainesville, well, we just simply did touch and goes. But remember, I just told you 61109 says that they had to be a full stop taxi back. I didn't even know that like ground control existed because I just talked to tower, done touch and goes, and figured, okay, that was great. So I got up there. I really stumbled my way through my arrival calls. I stumbled my way through it. Got up there, kind of, oddly got into the traffic pattern. Everything sort of worked out. I wish Live ATC was around back then so I could have, had the recording of this because it wasn't a pretty thing getting in there. I landed on runway 29 at the Gainesville airport, and when I touched down, the tower said, "Hey, stay with me, basically, back to runway 29." Well, I didn't realize what a blessing in disguise that was because I didn't know that ground control even existed. Like I told you, I'd only done touch and goes. I had never actually taxied around at the Gainesville airport, let alone known if there was a ground controller. So them telling me to stay with them, although I didn't quite understand what that meant at the time, was really a blessing in disguise. So I landed on runway 29, like I told you, and I taxied off on Echo 3, as you can see by that nice blue arrow right there. So far, so good, right? Well, I got off on Echo 3, and which way should I have gone? Well, I should have made a left turn back to runway 29. Remember, stay with them, back to runway 29. Instead, I made a right turn for some reason. And as I was taxiing down, it couldn't have been 10 or 15 seconds in the wrong direction. Tower comes on the radio and says, 6711 Juliet, where are you going? And the funny thing about the English language and how my brain processes it sometimes is it all depends on how you say it. How it was said was 6711 Juliet, where are you going? In that kind of tone. I took it as, hey, 6711 Juliet, so where are you going? And I proceeded to tell that guy my life story. What I thought he meant was, so man, what are you up to? Let's chit chat. I kid you not. I literally got on the radio and said, well, sir, I'm a student pilot. I'm from the Ocala airport. We have to do these 3, full stop landings. Ocala's not towered. So I came up here to do that with you. And I'm just taxiing along. I just did that landing. I got 2 more landings to do. And I'm telling this guy my whole life story. And eventually he keys up the mic and steps on me and says, no, 6711 Juliet, just stop. You're going the wrong way. It was literally like a bad audition for planes, trains, and automobiles. He literally told me, you are going the wrong way. And you can imagine as a student pilot, I mean, how many times in your flight training did you do something stupid and you just got flustered a little bit? Well, I think we've all been there. You just get something wrong happens and usually things kind of spiral from there. So he told me, no, just stop. You're going the wrong way. Well, I did that. I stopped and I keyed the mic back up and I said, sorry, sir, student pilot. I know, you told me. That's exactly what he said back to me. And I'm thinking, oh, I am such an idiot. So I made my U-turn there on Echo, and I'm now taxiing the proper way down Echo, and I literally taxied back with my tail between my legs. I mean, that's embarrassing to have a controller ask you, hey, what are you doing? And literally, you're. I told him my life story. Because I took it the wrong way. I'm thinking, man, these controllers are just really friendly. They want to know more about me and everything else. And it's just, such a crazy thing, But like everything in aviation, the chain of events continued. Well, it wouldn't be a good story if it just stopped there now, would it? And my ground school members know this. We've done accident analysis before. Everything, no accident just happens. There's always a chain of events that lead up to it. So what would a good story be without a few twists and continuing the chain of events? So, maybe it's because I was a bit flustered. Again, picture that. Put yourself in my shoes. You've maybe got like 10 hours. You're at an unfamiliar airport. You've never taxied at another airport, basically. The Ocala airport, if you've been there, it's very easy. It's essentially one runway, one taxiway. Gainesville was like, Delta Connection lands there, so it was kind of a big place to be for me, the little regional airport. Maybe it's because I was flustered, but for some reason, I don't know, still to this day, I don't know why I did this, but I got to the end of the taxiway and I taxied right out onto the runway and held. Literally line up and wait. I was lining up and waiting before lining up and waiting was cool and it was a thing. Well, back then it was called position and hold. Now it's called line up and wait. For whatever reason, literally taxied right onto that runway and held and called up tower 6711 Juliet, ready for takeoff, 29. Right now you're probably shaking your head. And thank God that this controller had some grace and was in a forgiving mood, because he came back to me after I said, tower 6711 Juliet, ready for takeoff, runway 29. He calmly said, no, sir, that's not how it works. I need you to taxi off my runway, hold short the hold short line, and call me again. And as if I wasn't, flustered, screwed up enough, that one really threw me for a loop. I taxied off his runway. I taxied back over the hold short line. I made my radio call again and took off, properly. Thank God he was, not busy and in a forgiving mood, like I told you. The silly things we do sometimes because of a lack of knowledge, because of a lack of experience. I finish my landings without any more incidents. I really don't, sometimes your mind blocks out, poor events. In that case, I don't remember what the rest of the landings were like. I guarantee you they probably weren't very good landings. Anybody who's done any amount of flight training and gets a little bit flustered, you know what I'm talking about. It's the thing you fear on the check ride. You screw up and you can't shake off the screw up and move on to the next thing. It happens. And we've got to learn how to adapt to that. But I finished my landings without any more incidents and went home safely, thank goodness. And I did, in writing the story out and getting it down to a keynote presentation for you guys, I did some research. Did you know that 76% of all runway incursions are directly related to a failure to communicate on the radios? All this time, I thought the majority, I knew radios played a good role in it. But all this time, I would have thought most of the issues would have been, a deer ran out on the runway and somebody hit it. Or, that fuel truck taxied across and had to cause somebody to go around when he shouldn't have. But 76% of runway incursion. Now, keep in mind, I committed a runway incursion back in 2005, whenever this happened. I could dig it up in my logbook whenever it was. I committed a runway incursion. However, that never made it to this statistic. It's got to be a pretty decent runway incursion causing an incident or an accident to actually get documented, even in this stat in the first place. So think of how many runway incursions actually go unreported like mine did. I bet you that stat would be a whole lot higher in that case. And they're all directly related to a failure to communicate on the radios. Now, I know, because when I arrived back at the flight school, I know Gainesville Tower, thank God that guy was friendly, called my flight school. I'm almost positive he did. Still to this day, I can't confirm that. Almost positive he did. But I remember when I landed back at that airport, my CFI was waiting for me on the ramp, which is never a great sign when when you're supposed to be soloing and your CFI is waiting for you there on the ramp. And my CFI came over, really nice lady. She said, so how was it? Good. What else do you say in that sort of case? Nothing exciting happened, she asked. One word reply from me, nope. It was one of those things. It's kind of like, I'm not a parent, so I can't relate to this, but the kid that tells you something when you know what the right answer is, and you just want to see if they'll tell you the right answer. That was one of those situations, But I realized, guys, that I knew that if I was going to make aviation my thing, I had to learn to communicate on the radios. Write this down, or at least remember this, guys. Anybody can talk on the radios, but few can communicate on the radios. It's one thing to talk, it's another to communicate. And that's what we're working on. We're not learning how to talk on the radios. We're learning how to communicate on the radios. So what I did was I began creating scripts because that's what I need. I'm a very visual kind of learner. So I began creating scripts and I adapted these as I encountered new situations. My scripts started out as one page. I was just looking at them today. They're almost over 12 pages now, and I share those with all my students. And I'm actually going to share these scripts with you guys, at the end of this presentation. I believe they're right around 12 pages now for every possible scenario, from talking to a Class Delta tower to what to do when you get the dreaded radar services terminated on VFR flight following. And it's something you can carry around with you. So what I want to do, I want to get into the meat and potatoes of this sort of stuff. I want to fly that same scenario I just presented to you, but using my scripts. So what I want you guys to do is I want you to put yourself into chair fly mode for me really quick here. I want you to put yourself into chair fly mode. Again, chair flying, the art of, it's almost like meditation for pilots. You sit in your big comfy lazy boy chair, you close your eyes and you visualize a flight maneuver, or you would talk yourself through a radio conversation and really work your way through it. And by the way, guys, if anything I'm saying is confusing or you have any comments, again, we've got the team that's taking all those questions. You and I communicate in that handy dandy GoToWebinar control panel underneath the questions tab. You can type those in there and the guys and gals are monitoring that so they can help with your questions there. So let's go into chair fly mode real quick and let's chair fly this similar situation flying up to the Gainesville airport. So the first question I ask myself before arriving at any airport is this: have I listened to the ATIS? Have you listened to the ATIS in this case? If the answer is no, well, we need to figure out that frequency and we need to do that because the tower is going to, or the approach controller is going to expect us to have listened to that ATIS and have the proper information. And then from there, and this is so important, guys, we are going to cold call. Guys, a cold call is so important. Here's what I mean by a cold call. I'll show you the example. I'm going to go back a slide. An example of a cold call is Gainesville Tower, Cessna 7159, Quebec. And I pause like that. And I wait. I'm going to go back to the cold call part, so I leave that up there. A cold call is so important. And you will hear, and I'm just going to give you an example of this. We went to the Bahamas this weekend, all for the sake of you guys. You guys wanted to see a flying to the Bahamas videos. So for the sake of you guys, I made a sacrifice and flew to the Bahamas. I did it for you guys. I just want you to know that, okay? So I had to go through all that for you, sitting on the beach and hanging out and flying over tropical water and everything else. So did it for you. Regardless, when we were coming back in, we were going into Fort Lauderdale Executive Airport. We were on the GPS, I can't remember which runway approach, but we were on a GPS approach coming in, and the airport was slammed. I mean, it was enough just to report that we were, inbound from the final approach fix. In that case, that airport was so busy. The airport was slammed on top of, I heard an instructor say, hey, executive tower, this is, so-and-so. The instructor's going to hop out and that student's going to solo. And I'm thinking, this is a Sunday. This is so busy here. And you're going to solo the student. And then on top of it, there was a Falcon jet coming in that was having gear issues. So he had an emergency inbound. And somebody called up and failed to cold call. And they gave this whole big, long executive tower. This is Cessna 1234 information Delta. We're about, we're about 15 miles out to the west. We're going to be inbound for a few touch and go landings. And we're Cessna 1234. And wasted about 15 seconds of radio time. And eventually the tower came back and said, Cessna 1234, I'm sorry, I've got emergency aircraft inbound. Please remain clear of my airspace. But basically, just You're wasting my time. If you would have just stopped and listened to my frequency and gave me a cold call before you rambled on, we could have figured all that out. So my point is to cold call. The reason I say cold call again is because that tower controller could be busy. He could be on the other line coordinating with approach. He could be just getting another cup of coffee, for goodness sakes. Give the guy a break. Cold call them first and get their attention. Gainesville Tower, Cessna 7159 Quebec, and we wait. After we make that call, we wait for them to come back for us. And when they come back, they're going to give us something like this. Cessna 7159 Quebec, Gainesville Tower, go ahead. And that, my friends, is our cue. That means it's showtime to give them our radio call. And our radio call is so simple. All you have to do is, guys, you have to simply answer 4 questions. And the 4 questions are this. Who am I? That's easy. We know the answer to that one. Where am I? Where am I located in relation to the airport? We should know that, right? What information? What information do I have? Didn't we just talk about grabbing the ATIS? Well, great. We've grabbed the ATIS. And what do I want to do? Inbound for landing, inbound for the option, inbound for touch and go, inbound for full stop, whatever you want to call it. What do you want to do? Let's fill in those blanks real quick. Who am I? Cessna 7159 Quebec. Where am I? I'm 10 miles south. What information? I've got information Delta. And what do I want to do? Inbound for landing. There's 4 questions that you've got to know the answers to. It's really that simple. All right. So now let's show that radio call. Cessna 7159 Quebec, 10 miles south with information Delta, inbound for landing. Doesn't that just sound easy? When you get a structure like this, and when you put your radio call in the 4-question format, and again, our scripts do that, your life gets so much easier. It's kind of like, for those of you that were on the Secret to Perfect Landings webinar, you'll appreciate this, because the one of my many secrets to a perfect landing is you've got to fly the same pattern every time. You can't expect a perfect landing when your traffic pattern is different every time. You're 100 feet high, you're 100 feet low, you're 10 knots fast, you're 10 knots slow. It's a different landing every time. Your radio call is the same way. How can you learn to communicate on the radios when your radio call, you're mixing it up and it's different each and every time? You need to have some structure. And the 4-question system allows you to do that. So after we make this radio call, Cessna 7159 Quebec, 10 miles south with information Delta, inbound for landing, we need to be ready to write. Literally, after we make that radio call, I've got the knee board on my lap, I've got my pen in my hand, because I know they're going to be telling me something important that's going to need to be written down. This all goes back to that premise. You've heard me say it before. You need to be thinking ahead of the airplane. Thinking ahead of that airplane, and we do that, by knowing that, hey, they're going to be telling me something important. Because think about it. If I'm 10 miles to the south, they could tell me, hey, 7159 Quebec, enter a 2-mile left base, runway 29, report 2 miles. As you can see from that blue arrow there. Or they could tell you, hey, Cessna 7159 Quebec, enter a midfield left downwind runway 29, report entering the downwind. Either of those would be options. We don't quite know what they're going to give us. We've listened to the ATIS. We have a good idea of what runway they're going to give us. And by knowing what runway they're going to possibly give us, I can kind of picture how they're going to ask me to enter into that, because they could give you those calls. Cessna 7159 Quebec, enter 2-mile left base runway 29, report 2 miles. Or Cessna 7159 Quebec, enter left downwind runway 29, report entering the downwind. Both are very, very common radio calls. And that's great. So we're expecting that. But here comes the crucial part for you. You need to understand what needs to be read back. This is where it gets confusing. What actually needs to be read back in this case? Well, let's use that first radio call for the 2-mile left base as an example. Cessna 7159 Quebec, enter 2-mile left base runway 29, report 2 miles. Well, if it's underlined there, that's what we deem as important information that needs to be read back. 2-mile left base 29, report 2 miles. 7159 Quebec. Now listen, if you don't get anything else out of this webinar, I want you to remember this. Have your pen and paper in your hand, because this is going to be really, really important for my note takers out there. I want you to remember this. And this is the tip. Literally, this will be, if you don't take anything else away, I want you to put this in your bag of tricks. You will never forget who you are. It's a vague statement. Let me clarify that, okay? You will never forget who you are, but you will forget what they told you. Here's what I mean by that. You will never forget who you are, but you will forget what they told you. For example, if I get that radio call, Cessna 7159 Quebec, enter 2 mile left base runway 29, report 2 miles. My readback would be 2 mile left base runway 29, report 2 miles, 7159 Quebec. The common student pilot error is to put your tail number first. Remember, I just told you, you will never forget who you are. It is placarded in front of you. November 7159 Quebec. It is on the instrument panel in front of you. A common student pilot error is to take your tail number and put it in front of the readback. So now your readback becomes this: 7159 Quebec, 2 base, 2 miles, 29, 7159 Quebec. How many of us honestly have ever made a radio call like that? I think everybody in here, this was if you were looking right at me right now, everybody would have their hand up, because we've all made bonehead radio calls like that before. And here's what happens. Psychologically in your brain can remember the last thing it was told. 2 mile left base runway 29, report 2 miles. Don't read your tail number in front of it, because once you start shouting out these other numbers like 7159 in Quebec, and then you go to read back what they said, you're just going to discombobulate what your brain works so hard to process. You're never going to forget who you are, but you will forget what they just told you. So read back what they just told you first, and then end with your tail number. Are you guys following me? That is huge in that case. 2 mile left base runway 29, report 2 miles, 7159 Quebec. Now, listen, sometimes they can get tricky, and I understand that. And we just got to deal with it. Let's look at this radio call. This is an actual radio call as well. Cessna 7159 Quebec, ATIS information echo is current winds 2806, landing runway 29, enter 2 mile left base runway 29, report 2 miles. And right now you're going, oh my God. This is one of those, have you ever had one of those moments where you get a radio call like this and you look over at your flight instructor like, hey, can you read this one back for me? I think we've all had a moment like that before in our flight training. We're like, I have no clue where to start with that one. And there's a lot of fluff to this radio call, what the tower just gave you. I'm not saying the ATIS is junk. I'm saying they gave you very good information. But to get great at readbacks, you need to learn to interpret, digest, and read back the important stuff. So this, guys, is basically the exact same radio call we just got. The readback would be enter 2 mile left base runway 29, report 2 miles, 7159 Quebec. It'd be the exact same readback. You've got to learn to cut through the fluff. You've got to learn to interpret. Take that in. Yes, I want to know that the winds are 280 at 6. Now, yes, I listened to the ATIS, so I already know that. I appreciate this, tower, that you're just trying to be helpful. But I need to interpret, digest it, and then read back what's important. So what is the important stuff in that case? How can I determine that? Because a common student pilot error is to try to read back all of it. And that's not the answer. So what is the important stuff? Well, the important stuff is enter, report, and runway. Enter what? Enter midfield left downwind. Enter a 2 mile left base. Report entering the downwind. Report 2 miles. And then what runway? Runway 29, runway 36, whatever your runway may be. That's this kind of stuff that needs to be read back, guys. It's the important numbers that need to be read back. You don't have to read back that the winds were 280 at 6. You don't have to read all that sort of stuff back. But you do need to read back how you're going to enter, where you're going to report, and for which runway. That's what needs to be read back. Again, guys, we're learning how to communicate on the radios, not just talk on the radios. Anybody can talk. Few can communicate on the radios. Enter, report, and runway. Those are the three keys. Now, let's take this a step further. Let's now apply this to flight following, because again, flight following is one of the most unused services. It is such a great service. Guys, I use flight following on little 20 nautical mile, 30 nautical mile hops, like up to the Gainesville airport in this case. It's such a quick little hop, but I like knowing that somebody's got my back. I just like talking to a controller in general, really. So let's apply this same philosophy, the same chair flying mindset, this same question kind of scripted mentality to flight following right now. And I'm going to give you a hint that it's actually easier than what we just did, oddly enough. People think flight following, oh, it's so scary. The approach controllers are so busy. Are they going to have time for me? What if they tell me something I don't know? You know, we're going to apply it to flight following, and you're going to realize how easy this is. So the same listen and cold call rules apply. Call them up. Jack's approach, Cessna 7159 Quebec. And we wait. The same cold call rules apply. If anything, these approach controllers are even busier in this case. So the same listen and cold call rules apply. Really, anytime you're talking to ATC, you've got to be cold calling. Now, there's a few exceptions to that rule, and I'll share more about that later if you guys have any questions on that. Or if you remind me, I'll share on that later. But listen and cold call rules apply. And now we need to answer, believe it or not, just 3 questions in that case. We need to answer these questions. Who am I? That's an easy one. Remember, we just said it's placarded right in front of us, right? Where am I? And what do I want? What do I want to do? It's that stinking simple. Let's fill in the blanks real quick here. Who am I? Cessna 7159 Quebec. Where am I? I'm 10 miles north of Ocala at 4,500 feet. What do I want to do? I'm requesting VFR flight following to the Jacksonville International Airport, Juliet Alpha X-ray. You could just abbreviate it easily. Juliet Alpha X-ray. It's really that simple. I cold call them. Jack's approach, Cessna 7159 Quebec. Cessna 7159 Quebec. Jack's approach, go ahead. Jack's approach, Cessna 7159 Quebec, 10 miles north of Ocala, 4,500 feet, requesting VFR flight following to Juliet Alpha X-ray. You answer those 3 questions, you know the answers to all of them, and you put it in that simple format, and you've just picked up you've almost just picked up VFR flight following. There's a few more steps we've got to do, but this is what people believe is the hardest radio call to make right here, is just picking up flight following. That's the scary part. Once you have flight following, it's not so bad, but it's picking it up that's the intimidating part. But just like we learned in the last one, what do we need to be ready to do? We need to be ready to write. We need to be ready to take some notes, because they're going to give us something. They're going to give us some information. In this case, you're waiting for a SQUAWK code, a little 4-digit number you're going to put down in your transponder. So once we make that radio call, they might say, 59 Quebec, Roger, stand by. Or they might just come right back with a SQUAWK code for you. There may be a very awkward pause after you make that radio call. Let me go back. You may make this radio call, says a 7159 Quebec, 10 miles north of the Ocala at 4,500 feet, requesting VFR flight following to Juliet Alpha X-ray. And there may be a very awkward pause like that one. And you're thinking, oh, geez, maybe I did something wrong. I did cold call them, so I know they're there. And 15 seconds go by, 20 seconds go by. The next thing you hear, Cessna 7159 Quebec, SQUAWK 0343. You've got to be ready to write just like that. Don't be thinking, geez, did they hear me? Sometimes they'll just come back and say, Roger, stand by for a SQUAWK code or a beacon code, they'll call it. Sometimes they won't say anything. They're fidgeting around trying to figure out what SQUAWK code they need to get you on. It depends. Regardless, after you make that radio call, you need to be ready to write, because they're going to give you a SQUAWK code. And you need to be ready to write those 4 numbers down. Cessna 7159 Quebec, SQUAWK 0343. This is where not only writing down, but on the readback, saying your tail number last is so important. Again, you're never going to forget who you are, but you will forget what they just told you. your readback should simply be SQUAWK 0343, Cessna 7159 Quebec. Really, your readback could be as abbreviated as 0343, 7159 Quebec. However, you can see that if maybe you weren't ready to write it down and they told you 0343, you go, Cessna 7159 Quebec, squawking 0. Say again for 7159 Quebec. Now listen, and that's going to happen. But again, on the readbacks, your name, your tail number comes last in that case. So we read back SQUAWK 0343, Cessna 7159 Quebec. I've written it down. I've read it back. I'm now putting it in my transponder. Everything is good. And again, we wait. Because what we're waiting for this time is we want to hear, not necessarily the magic words, but we want to hear the words radar contact. And this is a radio call that notoriously by student, I keep saying student pilots. Student pilots is a very generic term, guys. I am a student pilot. I got 8,000 hours as a CFII, and I consider myself a student pilot because why? Well, because a good pilot's always learning. We know that. So a common student pilot error, when I say that, I mean everybody, is to misinterpret and try to read back the entire radio call of what you're going to get next. We want to hear the words radar contact, and the radio call we often get back says the 7159 Quebec is radar contact 10 north of the Ocala Airport at 4,500 feet, Ocala altimeter 30.05. And you're like, geez, they just told me a lot. What needs to be read back there? What do I actually need to establish in this case? Well, it's this simple. All it needs to be read back is really the altimeter setting. 30.05, 7159 Quebec. You want to be really cool, you could say 0.05, 0.05, 59 Quebec, 7159 Quebec. Read back the altimeter saying, it's great that we're radar contact. It's great that they know where we're at. They're just trying to confirm that what our transponder, the information our transponder is giving them is correct in that case. And we simply read back that altimeter setting so they know that we're on the same page as them in the altimeter department. And guys, it's that simple. We're set up with VFR flight fall in that case. Now, obviously there's handoffs, there's things like termination, and we could go on and on about that. I can in the questions if you guys like to chat about that more. But it's that easy. Answering those 3 questions. All radio communication, guys, can be broken down into who am I, where am I, and what do I want to do? Hopefully you're taking notes. Hopefully you wrote at least those 3 things down there. The other one that kind of fits in there to make it a 4th is what information do I have? And I want you to practice that throughout this week. Who am I? Bam, what's your tail number? Where am I? I'm 10 south of this. I'm 10 west of this. I'm 5 miles east of whatever it is. And what do I want to do? And be very concise with what you want to do. If you want touch and goes, tell them you want touch and goes. If you want to land, tell them you want to land. If you want the option, tell them you want the option. If you want to stop and go, etc. You see where I'm going with this. Be specific with what you want to do. Guys, you need to learn how to interpret, digest, and read back the important stuff. Readbacks are intimidating. I totally get that. But we need to learn to cut through the fluff. Interpret, digest, and read back the important stuff. I'm going to grab a sip of tea here real quick. And when you can do that, your radio communications are going to be a breeze. And understand, guys, that radio communications take time, they take practice. And listen, you've already proven that you're that, what we call at MzeroA.com, that good pilot who is always learning. You took some time out of your evening, late evening, if you're on the East Coast, to brush up on your radio communications, to learn a little bit more. You are already the top 1% of pilots and potential student pilots in this case, because you're taking the time now to learn and practice. Using tools like my scripts can, literally cut that time in half in that case. And I'm going to share that with you guys here in just a sec. Guys, before I open it up for questions, we're wrapping it up here. before I open it up for questions, and I and the wonderful team here at MzeroA.com who's been taking your questions will be ready to go over that. And Rodney, I see yours. I'll clarify that at the end here. So before I open that up for questions, guys, by your request, and when I say by your request, I'm talking not a handful of emails, not even a dozen emails, a ton of emails from our last webinar series. We did that underground aviation seminar at sea. And I am bringing back our most popular promotion. So what I'm doing is I'm actually giving away all of my books, all 8 of them in this case, plus my VFR radio communication scripts. When I say all of my books, I mean Pass Your Private Pilot CHECKRIDE 2.0 ebook and audiobook, your examiner's favorite test prep questions. Every single question inside this book was asked on an actual FAA check ride by a designated pilot examiner or by an FAA DPE from a FSDO. In that case, every single question was on a check ride. Same is true of the Pass Your Instrument Pilot check ride book, ebook, and audiobook as well. I read the question on the audiobook, pause for a second, lets you think about the answer in your head, and then give you the proper answer on how you should answer it on a check ride. Because the thing about a check ride is, it's one thing to know the answer, it's another thing to be able to explain why. Also, the book, The Secret to Perfect Landings, our most recent book that just came out, over 4 hours of video inside. You read all about a short field landing, then you click and you watch the video on how to make a great short field landing, soft field landing, crosswind landing, normal landings. All that sort of stuff is covered in The Secret to Perfect Landings. My book on in-flight emergencies, also an industry bestseller. Same is true. I talk about these various in-flight emergencies, and then I show you them in flight, actual in-flight emergencies. We interview the pilots. We've captured this stuff with in-flight cams to show you these sort of emergencies of people landing on roads, ditching in water and fields, engine failures on takeoff, and we share all this sort of stuff. The Pilot's Handbook of Aeronautical Knowledge, which I was very blessed to rewrite alongside the FAA. Really a staple of flight training. Very few people haven't read this book. Same is true of the Airplane Flying Handbook. All your flight maneuvers really simplified. And then aviation acronyms, as if we don't have enough acronyms in aviation. We break down each and every one of them, from A tomato flames to what is a VASI, and explain all that sort of stuff to you because we have so many acronyms in aviation. And lastly, the FAR Aim in Plain English for Sport and Private Pilot, Instrument Pilot 1 coming soon, by the way. The FAR Aim in Plain English, literally, I took, how many pages is this? Let me look at my FAR Aim right here, right now. I am at 1,400 pages is this FAR Aim I have in my hand right here. We took that entire FAR Aim, broke it down to about 130 pages, getting rid of all the fluff, all the stuff you don't need, and then took that regulation, left it in its government speak, and then broke it down into plain conversational English so you know what it means and how to apply it to your flight training. It's what you need to know for your sport and private pilot certificate, and that is the Evergreen Edition, meaning it never expires in this case. Again, that's a total value of $291, plus my scripts, which I really haven't put a price. I don't think you can put a price on those, and that's years of us doing this sort of stuff. And all of this, by the way, guys, is free to my online ground school members now. Online ground school members, you can literally log in right now. You can download all that. The scripts I just put in there now, you guys can download all that stuff now. If you need a link, I can send you. I'll email you guys a link. Ground school members as well. Guys, if you are not a member and you want to get this awesome bonus that we're offering, all these books, plus the scripts, plus all the ground school member benefits, which we'll go over here in just a second, visit groundschoolacademy.com. groundschoolacademy.com. Buzz around there, click become a member, sign up, choose which package is right for you. We have everything from the Pilots Inner Circle members which are geared more towards people who are maybe already a pilot and wanting to get access to webinars like this that we do every week with our ground school members, all the way up to our gold level membership, which gives you access to over 400 videos. Visit groundschoolacademy.com. Join the #1 rated online ground school around, guys. Members get both private and instrument pilot full ground schools. That's over 400 iPad-friendly, desktop-friendly HD videos, in addition to iPad training. I show you how to use ForeFlight, FlyQ, Garmin Pilot, how to use your iPad, weekly live webinars, and monthly mock check rides. If you guys think this webinar is cool, well, guess what? I do a webinar like this every single week, every single Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern time. I do a webinar. It gets recorded. It's a chance to interact with me and the great team here at MzeroA.com live every single week. And let us be your mentor and your accountability partner throughout your flying and your flight training. You get access to the written test prep boot camp and customized written test prep. Our written test prep actually adapts and customizes itself to you as you continue through the course. Get that monkey off your back and get that private or instrument pilot written test done. Also, our CHECKRIDE Secrets video series. You get private mentorship from the awesome people who are helping you answer these questions here now, and you get the best guarantee in the industry. Pass your check ride or I'll pay for it. An offer that you will not see anywhere else. Not only will I reimburse your cost of the course, but I will pay that $400 or $500 fee for your check ride if you fail your check ride. Again, that URL is groundschoolacademy.com. And I've got to unfortunately put a time cap on it because this offer, I can't leave that around forever. So for checking out this webinar, if you become a member in the next half hour, and that clock is clicking now, you will get access to all 8 of those books, which you can download, including the scripts, including everything you see on the screen, depending on which membership level you sign up for. Again, we have the Pilots Inner Circle membership, which is just $27 a month, and you still get access to you get all the books and everything like I just mentioned. And that's geared more towards maybe you're already a pilot and you want to live out that good pilot is always learning mantra. That's going to give you access to the weekly webinars, the monthly mock check rides, the live radio show program we do, a chance to earn FAA wings credit, the flight review modules that we do, the iPad training, all that sort of stuff for you guys to check out and to learn more in that case. Then, of course, you can see on there we have the bronze, silver, and gold memberships as well. Again, please keep in mind, those are monthly memberships because we keep the content is always coming. The content is always up to date because it's online. Something becomes out of date, I can easily swap out a video and have a new one. And in fact, we just shot a Flying to the Bahamas video that's going in the ground school. We just shot a new VFR cross-country flight plan video, a new IFR cross-country flight plan video, all of which are being uploaded literally, well, not as we speak, because that would hog down the bandwidth, but it's in there. It's being implemented now. There's always new stuff coming in. There's a new webinar. There's a new radio show every single week. There is so much content, guys. MzeroA.com is not just a flight training website. It is literally a flight training community. So I encourage you guys to go to groundschoolacademy.com, click on Become a Member, and sign up. If you are already a member, you will be able to, if you go to the checklist area, you'll be able to download those checklists. And you will also, I'll have Ashley email all the new members and get you a link to download a zip file of all your free books for signing up. In that case, and there'll be a zip file, so download them to your computer, and then you can unzip them from there, and then download them to your iPad, your computer, print them out at Staples, Office Depot, whatever they're yours, whatever you want to do with them. So, with that, guys, I am going to now open it up for questions. Any questions you guys have? Any questions you guys have about VFR radio communications? Any questions you guys have about flying in general? I'm going to do my best to take some of them. The ones that the team is going to be in there diving in, taking those questions, as I'm sure they have been already. So let's bring on the questions, and let me get my questions box open so I can see all those. And geez, do I have a lot of them? Let's see. I see a lot of you guys are. I appreciate the team for diving in there and helping. Let's see. Here's our buddy Corbin. Okay, let me get a sip of tea and let me read Corbin's here because I got a little bit of a read here. Hold on one second, Corbin. I read this. Recently took off. No, runway heading probably 2 miles. ATIS notified me the jet was taking off. Going to be on the same heading. She told me to. I'm going to read this out loud, a little bit louder so everyone can hear it, Corbin. So we're on the same page. I recently took off and held a runway heading. I was approximately 2 miles out when ATC notified me that a jet was taking off and was going to be on the same heading. You know, makes sense. You're only 2 miles away holding runway heading. She told me to make a clearing turn to the left. Interesting verbiage. Interesting verbiage. I'll leave it at that. I wasn't sure how many degrees she intended me to turn, so I confirmed by repeating back, make a clearing turn to the left with tail number and turn 30 degrees to the left. But then I wasn't sure when I could come back on course. Is there a protocol? And is there a protocol, Corbin? Yes and no. I mean, so here's the scoop. Basically, you were taken off. And we know, unfortunately, in the general aviation environment, any jet turboprop aircraft kind of gets precedence sometimes in that case. They bring more revenue to the airport than our little 172s do sometimes. That's A-okay. You took off. The jet obviously would have been tailgating you in a heartbeat. So she wanted you to make a left turn out. She said a clearing turn to the left. That's a weird verbiage, Corbin. I can see why that was a little bit confusing to you. I would have simply just made a 90-degree turn to the left, assuming your course was straight out runway heading. I'd have made that clearing turn to the left. At 90 degrees, Corbin, that would allow you to watch that jet take off and make sure he's up and out of the way. And then I would ask ATC, hey, such and such tower, Cessna 1234, wondering if I can turn back on course now. That's what I would have asked in that case. Is that the proper protocol? It's pretty darn close, in that case. Hey, Mohammed. Mohammed asked, where do I get the frequencies for flight following? Well, there's a few places, man. So on a sectional chart, you can look around any Class Charlie airport. And you'll see little white boxes that'll pop up and it'll say contact Jack's approach within 20 nautical miles on 118.6. Great. That's one way to find a frequency. Also on the sectional chart, at the bottom of your sectional chart, you'll see there's some frequencies there. The same way, like you find out who controls the restricted airspace. You'll say Jack's approach controls restricted area 2910. You contact them on this frequency. You can do that as well. Another great way, my friend, where I always start is in my airport facilities directory. Now, if you're flying with an iPad, all this sort of stuff is there for you guys. So you have that, but also inside the airport facilities directory. So that is that. And Andre, absolutely, my friend. We will help you out with that. Let's see. And I'm just kind of grabbing questions that looks like they haven't been answered yet, guys. I'm on John P now. Let's see. With a call like enter a 2-mile left base from the tower, does it imply that I can descend at my discretion to position myself for the approach, assuming I'm above the traffic pattern altitude? Well, that's a very, very good question, John. And in the VFR environment, your answer is yes, unless you're told to hold an altitude. Now, IFR, that rule doesn't always apply. A lot of times they'll tell you maintain at or above such and such an altitude in the IFR environment. However, in the VFR environment, on flight following, 99% of the time, it's altitude your discretion is the verbiage that they'll use in that case. So if you got the radio call, enter a 2-mile left base, and you were on your cross country at 4,500 feet, well, I would hope you'd started your descent a while ago because you needed to be coming on down. Now, John, also, I would hope you'd be on VFR flight following. So one thing you could do is on flight following say, hey, Jack's approach, Cessna 1234. We're going to start our descent down to traffic pattern altitude. And they're probably going to come back with the exact phrase I just told you. Cessna 1234, VFR descent, pilot's discretion. Descend at your discretion, which is a polite way of saying, I don't care if you do it at 100 feet per minute. I don't care if you do it at 1,000 feet per minute. I really don't care what altitude you go down to. It's your discretion. Now, that's me being a little bit liberal with what they're saying there, but that's basically essentially what they're saying in that case. Let's see some other stuff. Ashley, if you're listening, if you could help out JD. Let's see. JD and Randy. You got to realize too, if you're getting an error message trying to sign up, you got to remember we had over 1,000 people on this webinar. Keep trying. It could just be like a lot of people trying at the same time. If you follow me again, if you're trying and you're getting an error message, we can we'll make it happen. In that regard. Amit asked a great question. Is your online course Transport Canada certified? And if not, do you have plans to be certified? Is your content better than most online schools? Well, I'd have a slight bias in telling you absolutely it's better than most schools. Is it related to, your Transport Canada sort of stuff in that case? We have ground school members from literally, Amit, all over the world. I'm talking South Africa, London, Australia. Rodney was with us when he was deployed in Africa. I mean, all over the place. It is FAA based. However, I'll tell you this. The raw skill of flying does not change. The things that will be different for you are like the regulations module, because the regulations, although similar, they do differ a little bit in that case. All right? But the thing is, the raw skill of flying does not change. If you're following me there, so absolutely. And listen to me, I got a money back guarantee. You sign up, you don't like it, you feel like it's not relevant to you, I'll give you your money back. I mean, we're a mom and pop kind of shop, dude. We are really, really cool in that case. I'm sending a text message to Ashley to make sure she's helping you guys out there too. She's the tech guru there. Let's see. Good. Hey, Corey. Corey asked, what was the exception for giving a cold call? I can already feel my voice going. Let me get another sip of green tea here. Green tea loaded with honey. So the exception to giving a cold call, Corey, and I appreciate you reminding me and asking, is this. So I'm on ground, let's say, and I call up ground, Ocala ground, Cessna 7159 Quebec. I come back, I get my ground, I taxi, I do my run up. You do not need to cold call tower. Why is that? Because tower is expecting you. You've already talked to the ground controller. You've told them what direction of flight you're going to be heading. They know which runway you're going to use. They basically slide that information on down to the tower, and tower knows you're coming. So you don't need to cold call Ocala Tower, Cessna 1234, Cessna 7159 Quebec. They know you're coming. You can simply just call them up, Ocala Tower, Cessna 7159 Quebec, holding short runway 36, ready for takeoff. You can simply just make that call in that case. So that's one of the exceptions where you don't need to cold call in that case there. Let's see. Terry, I see your question here. Terry asked, when in flight following, will I be informed to contact like somebody at the Bravo airspace? You got to realize that the controller, this is the beauty of flight following, Terry, that the controllers you are talking to are essentially the same ones that can and will and do clear you into the class Bravo airspace. You follow me with that? So if you're on flight following, you're already got it covered with that. So that is good here. Let's see. Richard asked if he joins the Pilot's Inner Circle, does he get access to the videos with a special offer? Richard, the Pilot's Inner Circle is geared towards you're already a pilot, so you're going to get access to all the webinars, all the webinar recordings, all the radio shows, all the wings credit sort of stuff, all the iPad training, the modules geared towards that. What you will not get access to is the private and the instrument pilot full ground schools. Now, if you want to dive in there just for a quick refresher, Richard, you could always jump in, be a ground school gold member for like a month, and then email myself or Ashley and say, hey guys, awesome, I'm all caught up, I feel refreshed, thank you. I'd like to downgrade to a PIC membership now so I can continue checking out the webinars and the webinar recordings. With that, so you'll be able to do all that if that helps you out in that case, and I'm more than happy to make that exception and do that for you guys in that case. Let's see what other questions are coming in here. Still having some issues with the link again. Be patient. Be patient with it. They're trying to. Ashley's working with everything, trying to get it working now. Again, we got so many people actually saying hitting the website now at one point that's kind of causing a bit of an issue. So keep trying is all I can say. And if you have an issue, and if the timer expires and you're still trying to get in, we'll make it happen for you guys. So don't worry about that. Okay, cool. Hold on. Sorry, 1 second. Let's see. Let's see. Where's our buddy Greg? Brand spanking new private pilot. He says, yeah. He said, I'm sure glad you're human and share your experiences. You're great. Well, Greg, I think you're great too, my friend. Hopefully you got my email in that case. If not, it got lost in transition somewhere. So that's cool. Jeff, hey, Jeff said, any books geared more towards sport pilot ratings? Well, Jeff, of course, the FAR aim in plain English is what you really need to know for your sport or your private pilot certificate, and it specifically outlines what are the sport pilot specific regulations. Now, this is what you need to understand, Jeff. Landing an airplane doesn't change. Airspace doesn't change from sport to private. It doesn't matter. What changes in the sport pilot realm is just like what I told Amit a little bit ago, is regulations change. That's the only difference in sport pilot is some regulations change. You have a little bit, less requirements in some areas, more requirements in other areas, and that's it. But the raw skill of flying doesn't change. So books like The Secret of Perfect Landings, The FAR in Plain English, In-Flight Emergencies, the Pilot's Handbook of Aeronautical Knowledge, Pass Your Private Pilot CHECKRIDE, for goodness sakes, is all going to help you in that case. It's all going to further you if you know what I mean. All right. So that is that. Let's see. David. Hey, David H., my buddy, who's also a wonderful online ground school member, reading yours. Let's see. If my cross-country direct course with flight following goes through Class B airspace of Dallas-Fort Worth, is it better to call Dallas and get permission to enter the Bravo, or to plan deviating around, changing my altitude and fly under the Bravo? Listen, David, you are a private pilot, my friend. I would plan to go direct. That's the most practical route, right? And I would pick up flight following along the way, like you said. And if they need you to deviate, they're going to give you a heading. If they need you at a different altitude, they'll tell you. The beauty of flight following is they're going to say, hey, David, Cessna 1, they're not going to call you David, but you know what I mean. Hey, Cessna 1, 2, 3, 4, you're cleared into the Dallas-Fort Worth Bravo airspace. And they're going to do that for you. Now, obviously, David, never assume if you're approaching that airspace and you're at an altitude where you're going to penetrate that airspace and you haven't been cleared through it just yet, give them a friendly call. Hey, Fort Worth approach, Cessna 1234. Just want to make sure I'm cleared through the Class Bravo airspace. Oh yeah, Cessna 1234. Sorry about that. You're cleared through Fort Worth's Class Bravo airspace or whatever it is. Houston's, wherever you're at in that case. Class Bravo airspace. That's not to say don't have a backup plan, David, because David, you could get up there, you could request VFR flight following, and they could say, sorry, I'm too busy right now, because VFR flight following is on a workload permitting basis. A workload permitting basis, meaning if they can't take you, if they're too busy, they'll tell you, sorry, stand by. It's really that simple. All right. So that is that. Let's see. Richard, I answered your question there, I believe. Okay, good point here. Randy said, so Randy took our advice about looking at the sectional chart for the white boxes near a Charlie airport. He said, look at the sectional chart, white boxes. Looking at SoCal approach within 20 nautical miles on 125.5, and then it has another frequency, 349.0. What does that mean? Well, the first frequency obviously is for you, Randy, on your VHF radio, 125.5. However, 349.0 is for our military friends on their UHF radios. First, I mean, obviously, Randy, sitting in the airplane, you'd be trying to turn to 349 and go, why can't I do that? Well, because you have a VHF radio. So the first one is for you in that case. So that is that. Let's see, what else do we have here? Let's see. Andre, no, you are Andre. You are spot on with that book reference. Absolutely, very, very good book. In fact, the team and I just did that. Let's see. Yeah, Andrew, I appreciate that. Nail that readback. Better safe than sorry. And just to summarize what Andrew said here, it never hurts to ask. Obviously, you want to nail your readback, but if you're not sure of something, let me tell you something. That controller would rather have to tell you that same radio call again than have you bust some airspace or land when you're not supposed to, or taxi where you're not supposed to be, or cross that runway when you're supposed to hold short. They would rather have to repeat it to you 10 times than have you do something like that, because that means they're going to have to be filling out some paperwork, and controllers don't like to have to do paperwork. I can tell you that much for sure. It never hurts to ask if you think, if you need help in that case. So that is that. Let's see. Richard. So reiterating what I was talking about, Richard, still asking about the Pilots Inner Circle stuff. So my bronze, silver, and gold memberships get both private and instrument pilot. And I may be really behind, Richard. I'm very behind on questions, actually. So, Richard, this may be really old stuff. Actually, it is really old stuff. That was at 10:10, and it's I'm like 10 minutes behind. So I'm getting questions that you asked 10 minutes ago. So sorry about that, guys. I'm falling a little bit behind here. So Richard, hopefully I made sense of that. And it all explains itself on the website. Hopefully Ashley got the website back up and taken memberships. She said I was getting bombarded pretty good there. So sorry about that. The scripts, Rob got all those. So do you need to be specifically cleared? Philip, hey Philip. Philip said, do you need to specifically be cleared into Class B? Absolutely, Philip. You need to be cleared into Class B. In fact, Philip, you need to hear those magic words, cleared into Class Bravo airspace with your tail number. Cessna 7159 Quebec, cleared into Orlando's Class Bravo airspace. You need to hear that specifically. Even when you're on flight following, don't think just because you're talking to somebody that you're just magically cleared through everybody's airspace. as Andrew said earlier in relations to readback, the same applies. It never hurts to ask, especially when it concerns Class Bravo airspace and a possible a possible airspace violation. Jeff, yeah, I may consider that, Jeff. Reason being, we're always adding great content, though, so it helps to keep us going since the content is always being up to date in that case. Steve said, great information, well presented. Thank you, Steve. I appreciate that. Steve M said, you guys are awesome. Thank you, Jason, your team, for your knowledge and information. You're truly a help to all of us to learn to be better pilots. My buddy, Stephen D. Thank you, my friend. I really appreciate that. Let's see. Andre asked, are the ground school classes written material? Well, listen, if you like our YouTube videos, Andre, if you like these webinars like we're doing now, that's the ground school. It's do it at your own pace. It's all video based with a little bit of text, mostly for the written test prep sort of stuff, asking the questions, you put in the answers. And again, I just encourage you, Andre, to jump in there and check it out. Again, if you're not happy, dude, I'll give you your money back. I mean, we're like really, really easy. We're a mom and pop shop. I don't know how else to explain it to you. We're really, really easy with that. Again, I'm like 10 minutes behind on questions. That question was asked at 10:11. It's like 10:21 now. So I'm trying to continue through these here. Again, 5 minutes still to sign up for that offer. Let's see. Do controllers, this is Grayson. Hey, Grayson. Grayson said, do controllers generally mind canceling my VFR flight plan from the air, or do most want me to wait until I land and telephone them in? Well, you got to realize something, Grayson. The flight service station and the air traffic controller are two different people. By that, I mean you close your VFR flight plane in the air on flight service. That's where you turn to their special frequency, the frequencies over the VOR box on the sectional chart. The flight service station, VFR flight following approach controllers are two totally different people. Do the two communicate to one another? Absolutely. Could a flight following and approach controller cancel your VFR flight following flight plan for you? Well, yes, they could. Excuse me. But it's going to take a little bit of legwork on their part. And a lot of them are so busy, they just don't have the time to do that. So you're thinking of two different services. As far as your flight service station goes, I mean, obviously you cancel your flight following in the air. And then when you get on the ground, you call the flight service station, 1-800-WX-BRIEF, on the ground and cancel your flight plan with that. Hopefully that makes sense. Juan asked a great question. Juan said, how do you get a VFR clearance at a uncontrolled, remember Juan, we're trying to use that word pilot controlled now, out of a pilot controlled airport, when heading towards like controlled airspace, let's say Class B. Well, I just did the exact same thing heading out of Bimini in the Bahamas, Juan. Again, the things I do for you guys, having to shoot a flying to the Bahama video, but you know what? It had to be done, so I did it for you guys. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, a pilot-controlled, uncontrolled airport, whatever you want to call it, Bimini, an island in the Bahamas, I needed to quickly pick up my flight plan. I needed to quickly be talking to somebody. So I did some research ahead of time, Juan. I figured out my frequency. I made my traffic pattern calls, Bimini approach, Cessna 1234, departing runway 10, got up and out of there, kind of circled above the airport, made all my radio calls, and then from there, after I made my last call at the pilot-controlled airport on the Unicom frequency, on the CTAF frequency, I switched over to that flight following frequency, that approach controller. In that case, it was Miami approach, and called them up and explained that, hey, I was just off of Bimini, and in this case, I wanted to pick up my IFR clearance. In your case, you want to pick up flight following, whatever it is. So the important thing is, Juan, to know that frequency ahead of time in that case. Let's see, again, guys, down to just about 2 minutes to grab all that sort of stuff. Let's see. Let's see. When when I had asked about approach, ATC, and contact flight following, check the sectional chart when flying from Columbus to Cincinnati. Here's a good tip. So if you're obviously flying some busier airspace, in that case, it's one thing to glance at a sectional chart. One thing I like to do, if you're wondering which frequency to pick up flight following on, the best thing you can do is to go to your airports, the airport you're departing, their airport facilities directory page. You can do that in the actual airport facilities directory. You can do that on your iPad. You can do that on airnav.com. It doesn't matter. And find what approach, Dayton approach, Columbus approach, Dayton Center, whatever it is, Cincinnati approach. I don't know what it would be in that case, but it'll tell you who it is, and it'll tell you what frequency out of that airport. So that's the action I would take on that. Marty, so glad you enjoyed that the webinar, my friend. That all sounds great. Again, guys, we're still taking your questions. Jay, it looks like they answered your question. But yeah, all the books, guys, are downloadable. What's going to happen is when you sign up, the books will come as a zip file. You'll unzip it on your computer. You'll sync your iPad, your iPhone, your tablet, whatever it is, just like you add MP3s, just like you add PDFs to your iBooks or whatever it is. You can open it up in your PDF reader, take them to Staples, get them printed out, whatever you read it on your desktop, read it on your iPad, whatever you want to do, they're yours. And everything is, the books are all downloadable in that case. Joe asked a good question. If I fly under Class Bravo airspace, should I still call and let them know my location? Absolutely. Just because you're not in their airspace, it's beneficial to let them know, well, they know you're there, that's for sure. But it's beneficial to chat, and just that way they're talking to you. And you're one more aircraft participating in the flight following realm, because flight following provides traffic separation for participating aircraft. A lot of times you'll get traffic reports. Hey, Cessna 7159 Quebec, traffic 12 o'clock, 10 miles, 4,000 feet. I'm not talking to him. Maneuvering, whatever he's doing, because, well, he's not talking to him. So he can't, they'll give you the deviation, but they're not talking about other airplanes. So, that's it for that case. There. Let's see. Yeah, absolutely. Or just kind of reading some of this stuff here. Our buddy Will. Hey, Will. Let's see. Ron, what do you have to do if you have to transition over a controlled airport and they're only 2 miles out from a controlled airport you're flying to? Ron, this is a great example of why in that situation you should be on VFR flight following in the first place. You're transitioning over some airspace, but you're heading to another airport. Now, obviously you want to descend down. If you're heading to the airport, it's only 2 miles away. You need to transition that airspace. You can either do one of two things. You can contact an approach controller and pick up VFR flight following, or if it's a little Class Delta airport, call up that Class Delta tower. I'm sure they deal with people all day asking to transition their airspace en route to blank. That would be a radio call, Ron. You'd call up such and such tower. This is Cessna 1234. Just looking to transition your airspace from east to west at 1,000 feet en route to the ABC airport. I'm sure they get that radio call hundreds of times a day if they really are 2 miles, from that other airport. That shouldn't be a big deal. That's something they're used to. In fact, if anything, I would just ask some local pilots in the area because they probably, have all that as well. Or that information as well. Let's see. Reich, it looks like Ashley took care of you here. Yeah, don't like to fill out paperwork, that's for sure. Let's see, what time is it now? It's 10:30. Gosh, I'm still like 10 minutes behind. The questions just keep, guys, I'm not going to bed until we get all the questions answered. So you keep asking, I'll be here. So that is that. let's see. Just trying to grab all of these. Again, Ground School Academy. I see a lot of people still asking for the link, groundschoolacademy.com. I know that timer there has stopped ending, but really, the moment I say goodbye is when you got a chance, and you guys know that. So let's see. Grayson, no problem. You're welcome for that answer. Shows you how behind I am, though. I just saw Grayson saying thank you. I feel like I just answered Grayson's question 10 minutes ago. Let's see. Andrew, my buddy. Let's see what Andrew had. Andrew, very, very smart guy. Let's see what he had to say here. Great tip on always listen to ATIS. One that I think that is given, but made the mistake this week in low ceiling night flying, and the AFD listed the airport as closed on the weekend. So I did call the tower frequency, and they were pilot controlled. Like towers closed, they become a pilot controlled airport. Makes sense. And then got surprised when you get a response from the tower. Yeah, I've had that happen too. I have that happen a lot. Well, not a lot, but I've had that happen, Andrew, when like daylight savings time comes around. The tower operates from, they give you the Zulu time, and you forgot, I'm supposed to add 4 or not subtract, not add 5 this time. And you think the tower's closed, and you call them up, Ocala traffic, and they're like, hey, sorry to interrupt, but this is Ocala Tower. And you're like, ooh, my bad. Yeah, hey, you know what? It happens. But the important part is, Andrew, you were making radio calls. How many people might have not made radio calls? It's nighttime, nothing's happening here. I'm just gonna go ahead and land. Yeah, that would be a bad experience with that. Let's see. Raul asked Jason, will you have your book, The Farm in Plain English, published in Kindle edition? Raul, I have quite a few books in Kindle. I don't know if The Farm in Plain English is one of them. I'm not sure. Regardless, Raul, if you're reading it on your Kindle or something like that, or whatever you're reading it on, a PDF will read on that. It may not read as pretty as the Kindle edition, but I can do that. Regardless, though, you sign up, Raul, you'll get the PDF for sign up for the Ground School, the Pilot's Inner Circle. So that is that. George asked a great question. He said, I think I have about 3 levels of Wings program that I had done some time back. If I listed today for the Wings program again, would the Wings level I have be considered so I'd end up with the next level? I heard the Wings program has changed some time back. I'm not sure it's compatible. Any insight with this? George, I wouldn't know until we dove in there and looked at your account and everything else. But I'll tell you, George, you're going to earn basic, advanced, and master's Wings credits via the online Ground School, via the Pilot's Inner Circle as well. And we can work on that together, George, seeing if your old credits are still current. And if not, we can work on some ways to get them current again for you and brush you up on that. And again, you guys got to realize when you sign up for the online Ground School, going to groundschoolacademy.com, you're going to interact with myself and this team here every single week. We pride ourselves in really great customer service. I want you guys to come up to us at Sun Fun and Oshkosh and seminars we do all across the country and feel like you know us and that we know you because of the relationship we've built through that. So George, just know that I've got your back through all that. And if you need the Wings credits, we'll hold your hand through that process, because George, it's one thing as someone who's been in the Wings program. Yes, it's changed. It's difficult. It's a great program. It's a great idea, but sometimes it's hard to understand. And I want to be your mentor and help you out with that, George. So hopefully that will help. Bill just signed up. Bill, thank you so much, and welcome to the team, and welcome to the Ground School, man. So excited to be chatting with you more in that case. But yeah. George, I see your other one about the VFR for a great refresher. Absolutely, dude. That's exactly what it's for in that case. Yeah, Terry said, in some Bravo airspace, there are certain altitudes in flight paths you have to take. Will flight following put me on these paths? Absolutely, Terry. So if you're on flight following, Terry, and if you're going through class Bravo airspace, they're going to give you the vectored headings. They're going to say, hey, Cessna 1, 2, 3, 4, I need you on a right heading of 360, turn right heading 360. They're going to help you through that sort of stuff. They're going to take you through the VFR corridors and where they want their VFR traffic to go through. They've got it all figured out, my friend, and they'll work you through it. In this case. Greg said, do the books come with the Pilot's Inner Circle? Absolutely. You sign up for the Pilot's Inner Circle, you get access to all the same sign-up bonus for the books and the scripts as well, my friend. So you'll have that. Sky said, is there a promo code for the bonus Jason just announced? No, if you simply just go to groundschoolacademy.com, you sign up now. I mean, I know the timer's expired over here, Sky, but basically you've got until I sign off on this webinar, which is till I finish answering everybody's questions here, to get that in there. And then I'm going to take the offer down in that case. So let's see. Jason asked, hey, Jason, how do I get the communication transcripts? Once you're inside the online ground school, once you got your membership all set up, you go to the checklist area, which will be a right sidebar menu. Click on like private pilot, and the right sidebar menu comes up. Click on checklists. You'll not only see our radio communications checklist, but you'll see CHECKRIDE scripts and CHECKRIDE checklists and everything else there too. A lot of really great stuff in there, Jason. So check all that out. Let's see here. Let's see. Andrew asked, who do I ask for the local center frequency? A lot of times that frequency is not in the airport facilities directory. That's interesting, Andrew, because center, you talk to a center usually at the higher altitudes. So what I do is I pick up flight following, obviously as I'm climbing up to those higher altitudes, and then they'll usually hand me off to a center. And you know what? This is the funny thing too. If you were to call up Orlando approach on 121.1, you say, hey, Orlando approach, you give them the whole big spiel of where you're going. They might say, hey, you know what? You know who would be better to call? Try Jacksonville approach on 118.6. If you accidentally grabbed the wrong frequency, or you thought you had the right frequency, but maybe either A, they're too busy to talk to you, or B, you're really not in their radar sector, they'll give you the proper frequency. I mean, these guys want to help you. I know that VFR flight following is on a time permitting basis, but the funny thing is these guys want to help you in that case. So that is that. Ron said, thanks, Jason. You guys are the best. Well, Ron, I think you're the best, man. I appreciate that. Let's see. Charles, absolutely, my friend. Mark and I spoke about that, and I've got your back with that, man. Don't you worry about that. Mark and I spoke about that today. Let's see. Jay just signed up. Jay, awesome. Very, very cool. Thanks for signing up. Again, all you guys who are signing up, I'm going to try to have Ashley or somebody one by one kind of email you. We're getting obviously a ton of signups right now. I'm going to have Ashley kind of one by one email the link to it, and I will do a mass broadcast email as soon as I sign off this webinar to everybody to download all those books so you can get started on making that download happen. Tony said, are you guys going to be at Sun and Fun Lakeland next week? Absolutely, Tony. Hangar D, and I'm exhibiting. We're speaking Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. We're booked solid with talks. I will be posting a video. I'll be posting a video on Thursday, I believe, about our Sun and Fun schedule, where we're going to be, what we're up to. So, Tony, please come by the booth, say hi. Would love to meet you, shake your hand, take a picture. Would love for you to come by one of our talks, my friend. I think that would be very, very cool. Steve said, thanks for all the great info. Have a good night. Steve, you have a great night too, man. Thanks so much. Let's see, Raul, no problem, dude. Let's see. Yeah, Mike B, I saw that about the Cirrus Vision jet flying. I thought that was pretty cool myself. So that was cool. Cool. Awesome. Appreciate that, guys. Let's see. Trying to get your question to load up. Let's see. Sean said, I've been looking to do some training here in the Los Angeles area, somewhat limited to sport license training. Any suggestions? Sean, we have an entire database of flight schools who use MzeroA.com as their preferred ground school and their preferred training platform. I know we have quite a few in the SoCal area. Let me do some digging around, and I will find some of those airports, make some phone calls for you tomorrow, and see if anybody offers sport pilot training. And I will get back with you on that, Sean. Let me make that a note. Email Sean, last name R. I'm writing down your last name. About SoCal sport pilot. I got to write things down. I got to think out loud too. Let's see. All right. Yeah, D92 is the spot in the hangar for Sun and Fun. Hangar D, booth 92, on one of the sides. Okay, let's see. Brandon asked a great question. What is the purpose of even calling flight following in the first place? Brandon, flight following is like somebody having your back. Flight following provides traffic separation, a little bit of navigation will help, a little bit of airspace help, and very little weather help. Again, they can only see precipitation. They can't see like cloud buildups and that sort of stuff. Flight following, my friend, is just somebody watching you, somebody having your back in that case. Would you rather fly without talking to a soul, or would you rather have somebody who's watching you for traffic separation, who's watching you saying, hey, you're approaching this class Bravo airspace, let me clear you through it, or hey, you're kind of creeping up on this restricted airspace, it's hot, suggest a heading of 020 to avoid that airspace. It's somebody who has your back, man. It is just that important. So that is that. Charles said, how cool, man. You are the greatest. Charles, I think you're the greatest, man. Appreciate that, dude. Let's see. Aaron said, very interesting. The webinars kept my attention way better than the DVD ground school I took. Well, Aaron, I appreciate that, dude. If you enjoy our teaching style, you're really going to enjoy the Pilots Inner Circle, the online ground school, the webinars we do each and every Monday night. I'm sure you enjoy the YouTube videos we do. I would love to have you come out, Sun and Fun, Oshkosh, see us do this live. It's really, really fun. We've actually, I'll let you guys in on a little secret. We've got a 12-city speaking tour coming up. Dates and locations not confirmed, but I'd like to say coming to a city near you. It just sounds official when I say it that way. I'll be releasing more information on that probably after Sun and Fun, maybe a little bit during Sun and Fun. But really great talk. We're planning a really great tour coming up. With that. So that is cool. A few of you guys, Jay's signing off. Jay, you have a great night, my friend. I'll catch you later, dude. Christian, I don't see a problem with that. I wish Larry was still on the webinar. Larry signed off to say good night. Guys, any medical questions you have, send me an email. Jason@MzeroA.com. Spell it out like, where'd my cursor go? Spell it out like the logo, MzeroA, or you could spell it out M, the number 0, the letter A.com. And if you have any medical issues, send me an email with a medical question. I will forward it to Larry. You guys don't realize how smart Larry is. Larry is not only a CFII and MzeroA.com pilot instructor extraordinaire, he is also a doctor and a doctor of pharmacy as well. So he can help you with any of your medical issues. Maybe your doctor prescribes something, but it's on the FAA no-fly list. He can talk to you about, hey, ask your doctor if he could prescribe this instead of this because you're allowed to fly on this. He is so smart. Larry is actually in the process of writing an aviation medical book. that can help you out with that sort of stuff. So that is really, really cool. So any medical questions, Larry can help you out with that. Bridget, awesome. Bridget said, is this where I should start brand new to all this? Bridget, welcome to the MzeroA.com community. Welcome to the general aviation community in general. You certainly found the right place, and it sounds like you're off to a great start. Just the fact that you took the time to check out this webinar. I know a lot of the stuff we were talking about may seem overwhelming and crazy, but one of these days it'll all make sense, I promise. So that is very, very cool that you're checking all this out. Bridget, Peter, sending the books over to you now. So Ashley's getting that up. Aaron, Aaron, you asked Aaron, I love the way your brain is thinking right now. You're thinking on wavelengths that pilots of your current level don't normally think about. His question is, any suggestions for shaking off the mess ups? They tend to distract me and keep me from performing my best after I'd messed up. Guys, the secret to a great check ride, whether it be your private pilot check ride or whether it be your ATP check ride, the secret to a great check ride is if you screw up, knowing that you've screwed up, acknowledging you screwed up, fixing that little screw up, and shaking it off and moving on. You've got to have a memory, a short-term memory that just forgets it and moves on. Because the moment you get flustered on a check ride, really, the moment you get flustered in aviation in general, the rest of it all goes with it. Just like when I shared with you my Gainesville, my first time talking to a control tower solo experience. I became flustered and look at the stupid thing I did. Happens to us all. Guys, that's so common on a check ride, though, to get flustered in that case and screw it all up. You've got to have a short-term memory, Aaron. That is the real secret. Be able to just say, you know what? I screwed it up. I've acknowledged it. I fixed it, and I'm moving on to the next flight maneuver. And I'm going to do it twice as better as the last one. Twice as much better as the last one. That probably wasn't the best English to use, but that's okay. Let's see. Gary, looks like Ashley's taking care of you, getting you an email. Bridget, no problem. That's all cool. Dan asked a great question. Dan said, Jason, what are your personal thoughts on the proposed driver's license medical? You know, Dan, I haven't put a whole lot of thought into it, to be honest with you. But I am all about anything that's going to help aviation. But at the same time, Dan, you and I both know that, well, the logic behind it is, well, if you're good enough to drive a car, you should be good enough to fly an airplane. Well, we know that's not always the case with everybody. My grandmother, when she was getting old, she still had a driver's license, but she really shouldn't have been driving a car. I think we've all known elderly people like that in our lives that fit that kind of description. So that's not always the case in that. I think there's, for the sport pilot, it works. For everybody, will it work? I don't know. I need to see the full proposal to make a decision on it. I can see the merits of both sides of it, though, Dan. You know who would have a really great opinion on it is world famous Uncle Larry. Who's our resident medical expert, in that case. So that is cool. Let's see. Charles, absolutely. Charles said, been out of the air for 10 years. Just wanted to complete my VFR. Hopefully next week. Yeah, Charles, Mark shared some of that with me. I think that is awesome, dude. And then continue to learn, though, Charles. Continue to kick butt through your instrument stuff. Let's knock out that instrument written test. And I think Mark's really got you set up smart with getting you in the ground school. I think that's going to be a great way to do that. By the way, Ashley just told me she just sent everybody who signed up an email with the links to the books, and everything just got sent to you guys. So check your inbox for that so you can see all of that. So that's cool. Marshall said, if you end up on the West Coast, come to Seattle. Actually, that's one of the hopefully planned stops, Marshall. I'm hoping to be speaking at, not Seattle. I believe it's Spokane, right? Where AOPA is doing the regional event. So hopefully, Marshall, you'll make it to that as well. So let's see. Peter said nothing about soaring check rides. No, Peter, although I have a little bit of gliding time, soaring time, I'm not a glider instructor by any means. So nothing on that. Wes, my friend, can't wait to see you at Sun and Fun, dude. We'll see you there. Again, guys, I know it's getting late. If you guys have to head out, it's no big deal. But I'm not going to leave until I get each and every one of your questions answered here. I'm starting to catch up. I feel like I can see the light at the end of the tunnel. So that's good. George said, thanks. This has been great. I think I'm about to get back into flying after a 3-year break. This is great preparation, George. That is so awesome. I'm glad you're getting back into it, dude. I think that is just absolutely awesome in that case. Christian, awesome, dude. Glad you enjoyed the seminar. Peter, you have a great night as well. Let's see. Alan said, hello. Wonder if you have any VOR training for VFR. I need a little help. Alan, obviously in the ground school, we have VOR training, but we do have one free video out there on YouTube. Rodney, can you do me a favor? Rodney, can you go, if you go to youtube.com/MzeroA flight training, just go to our main channel page. I believe, Rodney, it's our most popular video. If not, it's probably our second most popular video on VOR flight training, VOR tracking and navigation. Rodney, will you copy and paste that URL? And will you get it to Alan in the GoToWebinar question box so he can have that? Rick is still having an issue signing up, I believe, Ashley. So if you can look into that for me. Again, Rick, I got your back. So don't, Rick, if I sign off and you still haven't gotten in, know we're still working on it and know you'll still get your bonus. So sorry about that. We got everybody kind of hit the website at once. And I think it caused some server issues and some backup issues with that regard. So let's see here. Let's see. Andrew said, excellent. You guys are all great and very helpful. Andrew, so glad you enjoyed it, my friend. Let's see. Awesome. Elijah, excited about that, my friend. And know that even though you've done a ground school previously, my friend, that you can pick and choose as you work your way through there. And the big thing, Elijah, to get involved in is the webinars like these that we do every Monday night with the ground school members. It's a much smaller group. Again, we had a ton of people on this webinar, as you know, Elijah. So, it's a much smaller, much more intimate group. So it's a lot of fun like that. Yeah, Dan, I agree with you. Keep the medical either way with that. Let's see. Mark, maybe you could help out with the X-plane question from Jeet, I believe is maybe how you say his name. Mark is more of an X-plane expert than I am in that case, so maybe he can chime in there and help out here. Hey, my buddy Randy G. Absolutely, my friend. How are you doing, by the way? Hope you're doing great, dude. Let's see. Aaron, you have a great night as well, man. Yeah, he said work is coming tomorrow. Thanks again. Yeah, I totally understand. What time is it anyways? It's almost 11 o'clock. Yeah, again, if you guys got to roll, I totally understand. Have a great night. George, you have a great night as well. A bunch of thank yous from Gary, Alan. Andrew said, let me know if you're ever in the San Diego area. Yeah, Andrew, part of our speaking tour is going to take us right through your area. We're going to hit SoCal, and then we're going to continue north up to like San Fran, Oakland area. So we'll be all up in that, passing through you. So for sure. I'll be having those dates up, Andrew, so that'll be good. Guys, I'm kind of getting down the wire here. I can see the light at the end of the tunnel. So if you have any questions, anything related to flight training at all, now is your time to ask them or forever hold your peace in that case. Let's see. Jonathan asked a great question. Said, Jason, any suggestions for best practices in organizing comm frequencies in your radios? Jonathan, what I do is I keep my communication stuff in comm 1, meaning who I'm talking to is obviously the active, and who I'm going to be talking to or who I last spoke with is in standby, still on comm 1. Here's what I mean by that. If I'm on flight following, I'm on 118.6, and Jack's approach comes to me and says, Cessna 7159 Quebec, contact Orlando approach on 121.1. Well, I tune to 121.1. I hit the flip-flop button. 121.1 becomes my active. 118.6 becomes my standby, and I contact Orlando approach. Well, what if, Jonathan, I didn't get Orlando approach? What if I called and nobody answered? Well, hopefully I just saved my last frequency of Jax, who I was talking to, so I can go back to them and say, hey, Jax, I tried to contact Orlando 121.1. I didn't get anybody. You have another frequency for me? And they'll say, oh, maybe you're out of range. Stay with me about another 10 miles and I'll switch you back over. Or maybe try them on this frequency. Or let me try to call, they'll work it out with you. That's the advantage of having that flip-flop. Now, Jonathan, I use my COM 2 for my weather, for my ATIS, to open and close my flight plan, for flight watch, for maybe 50 miles out, I'll start monitoring a Unicom frequency for the airport I'm heading to kind of get an idea of what's happening. That's what I use my COM 2 for. COM 1's my primary, what's happening, what's going to be happening, and then COM 2's for weather and that sort of stuff. That's kind of my thought process on that. Phoebe, awesome. You have a great night as well. I appreciate that. Greg, looks like you're all signed up. Have all the emails. Great. Thank you. You have a great night. Thank you so much. Raul, awesome. Thank you, dude. Alan, I'm glad you enjoyed it, man. You have a great night as well. Let's see. Michael said, I only have about 120 hours. However, 105 of those were 15 years ago. Just starting back up, and I'm not real confident in landing, so want to get my instrument. The ground school is exactly what I was looking for. Thanks for this. I signed up. Thank you for doing this. Michael, thank you so much for signing up, man. That really means a lot, and I really appreciate it, dude. So we'll be in touch throughout this week, my friend, to make sure you got everything and everything's going well. As with all of the new ground school members and Pilot Center Circle members, we'll be in touch here soon. You guys have a great night too. Kevin, you have a great night. Let's see. On trying to take off and landing. Tony said, can you comment on trimming during takeoff and landing and why I see pilots trimming down on takeoff and trimming up on landing? Well, Tony, of course, obviously during our run up and everything else, and my pre-takeoff check is, am I trimmed for takeoff? Basically, I trim for takeoff, and I essentially want to leave it there with the exception of when I take off and maybe I leave the ground and there's a little more back pressure than anticipated. I'll adjust. My philosophy with trim is this, Tony. You're trimming for an airspeed. I'm trimming for an airspeed and to keep those controls light at that airspeed. I never want to be fighting that airplane. If I'm fighting the airplane is flying me. You know what I'm saying? You've got to fly the airplane. You can't let that airplane fly you. So what I think you're getting at, what you want me to explain is, I trim for an airspeed. I trim to keep those controls light because I'm ultimately flying that airplane. I'm not letting that airplane fly me. Hopefully that makes sense. In that case. Let's see. Terry W. I don't know the answer to that question, Terry, but I'm going to write that down and I'll get back with you. I don't know. I don't know that answer to that one. So I'll look that up and I'll get back with you Terry W. I don't know. And maybe one of the guys can look that up, but I'm not sure. Charles, I appreciate that. Thank you, my friend. Wade said, what dates do you think you'll be in Spokane, Washington? Just a tentative date. Wade, I'm not sure. You're going to have to go. If you maybe Mark, you can look up the AOPA regional fly-in dates for when they're in Spokane. If you just Google AOPA regional fly-in dates, and it'll come up when they're in Spokane. I'm actually meeting with AOPA at Sun and Fun to finalize that deal of me speaking at the regional fly-ins. And I'd love to make Spokane one of them. I haven't actually been to Washington State before, so I'd love to go out there, check that out, and of course meet. We have a very large West Coast presence at MzeroA.com. So I try to get out there as much as possible to meet you guys and everything else. So, that's that. Let's see. Muhammad asked, what if ATC just tells you flat out, hey, stay out of their airspace? Listen, you got to listen to it. You call them up on flight following, they tell you, listen, remain clear of my airspace. Well, you just simply got to do that. You've got to make the 180, or you got to make the turn to get up and out of there. And then you've got to reassess and kind of reevaluate, with that. So, Charles, no problem. Thank you. Jonathan, thank you. I appreciate that. August 16th, Mark found it, is that Spokane date. And again, I'm not confirmed. Call me a wishful thinker. I'm assuming my talk with AOPA is going to go pretty well, and they're going to book the MzeroA.com team and myself to come up there. But that's not confirmed just yet. But that's me being wishful thinking. Maybe I'll have to just show up and bring my own soapbox. Who knows, Wade? I doubt it, but we'll go from there. Jonathan, Brian, thank you so much. Brian said, thank you again, Jason. I love all your hard work and videos. Stop in Minnesota and look me up sometime. Got to run great stuff. Have a great night. Brian, I'll work on that. Hopefully, with you being in Minnesota, so close to Oshkosh, Wisconsin, I hope you'll make it out to Oshkosh. So we can meet up. Mitchell, thank you so much for that. Again, guys, I'm kind of seeing the end to the questions here. If you have any, now is the time to ask them, because I only got about 3 or 4 more that I'm looking at that I actually see here. Let's see. Abdul asked, what is the best way for using flaps on a final approach with a straight in? Abdul, I would refer you first to the Secret to Perfect Landings webinar I did. I think that'll help you a lot. That's on YouTube, and maybe Rodney, you can dig that up. Go to YouTube. That's another one of our most popular videos, the Secret to Perfect Landing webinar, and send Abdul that link. But in regards to making a straight-in approach, you want to make that landing as normal as possible. You want to have your flaps configured to, let's say, 20 degrees, like you would on a base, where you think you would be on a base on that straight-in approach. You want to treat it as close to a normal landing as possible, slowing your airspeeds down gradually as you go. And again, it explains it more in that. It looks like Ronnie just sent you that, so you should have that there, dude. So hopefully that helps. Rich said he enjoyed the webinar. Thanks for preparing it. Safe flying. You as well, Rich. Thank you so much. Let's see. Cool. Oh, Wade found it. Cool. Yeah, hope to meet you up there too. Randy said, any chance you'll be at the Plymouth, Massachusetts event? I'm actually hoping. That one's coming up quick, isn't it, if I remember? Maybe it's like in between Sun and Fun. I looked at it just the other day. Again, Randy, the goal is to just get booked for like all 6 of them, or however many there are. So yeah, there's high hopes for that as well, Randy. So hopefully you and I will be able to meet up. I think that will be great. Guys, if I haven't answered your question, Sky, I see your question just came in. If I haven't answered your question, I only see one question left, and it's Sky's. So if I missed your question, you might want to retype it or copy and paste it back to me, because I may have just missed it again. We got bombarded with a lot of stuff here. Let's see. Sky said, I was recently using flight following. The controller handed me off to a new controller. The new controller was so busy that he failed to respond to my call sign a couple of times. My instructor just asked me to hit the ident button and call out my altitude on the radio. What would you have done here? You got a smart instructor, Sky. Obviously, so you got handed off. You're simply just trying to check in. And you got to realize, Sky, though, at the same time, a check-in is as simple as Jack's approach, Cessna 7159 Quebec, 4,500 feet. It's that simple. So if you can find that amount of airtime, you can do it. Now, obviously, this person was very busy, and what your instructor said with just like hit the ident button to kind of get their attention, well, obviously they're very busy, but you need to let them know that you are there, because if there's a traffic advisory, they know you're talking to them. So your best practice, and this happened to us just this weekend flying to the Bahamas, Miami Center and Miami Approach get so busy down there. Heck, Fort Lauderdale Executive itself was busy enough. You've just got to find your radio time. You've got to know exactly what you want to say, and you've got to be clear and concise and to the point and professional. And you've got to grab your little bit of airtime there. Reyes, glad you enjoyed it, my friend. Let's say Spencer asked a question. He said, "Question: What should a pilot do if the approach controller hands you over to advisory, but you're expected to be handed to another approach controller? Say the controller 1, switch to advisory, or wait to go to another controller." Listen, if they drop you, Spencer, you got two options. Well, first off, it depends how close you are. If they drop you, change to advisory, SQUAWK VFR, frequency change approved. If they drop you like that, well, you could just change to advisory, SQUAWK VFR, and go about your day, make your pilot-controlled radio calls. Or you could try what you believe is the next controller by doing a little bit of research and figuring out that frequency if you feel you're still too far out. And again, if you're 20 miles out, 30 miles out, you could try to find the next controller. But if you're within 10 miles of the field, and they dropped you, it's no big deal, man. You just switch to advisory frequency anyways and start making those radio calls, from there. Let's see. Scott asked a great question. Scott said, I discontinued my flight following about 10 miles north of the airport. ATC confirmed the discontinuance, but requested that he stayed on the SQUAWK code they had given me. Any idea why? Scott, I'd imagine it's because you were probably flying into another towered airport. I could be wrong, but I'd imagine that's probably the case. And the tower is expecting you. Approaches called them for you. So they basically said, listen, your radar service is terminated. I want you to stay on that beacon code, though, and contact Ocala Tower, contact whatever tower. In that case, I'd imagine that's that because they're expecting you, because you're already on that beacon code, so they're watching you. Granted, maybe if it was, gosh, I can't think of a situation why they would do that into a pilot-controlled airport, but that would be my inclination with that. Michael said, hey, you signed up for the gold membership, but didn't get the zip file and the welcome email. Michael, if you literally just signed up, Ashley sent the email a little bit ago. Ashley, Michael L. Is the name. Do me a favor and make sure send him an email to make sure he gets the zip file as well. And if you need any support issues, we'll be up a little bit longer after this webinar, and you can get in touch with us that way. And again, jason@mzeroa.com is the email if you just need me directly. That's cool. Brandon said, if my flight school is part 141, but I have my own flight schedule, does that make my lessons part 61? No, Brandon, what it has to do is if you're following a syllabus or not. If you follow the 141 syllabus, you're 141. If you follow a part 61 syllabus or lack thereof syllabus, it's part 61. I would simply just ask your flight school, but I imagine you're probably doing it part 141 if you have a very structured syllabus that you're following. Just because you schedule your own flights doesn't necessarily mean what parts you actually are there. So Spencer said, thanks. Hope to see you at Des Moines sometime. Spencer, I'd love that. Hopefully you'll make it up to Oshkosh, dude. That would be great. And Paul said, a night, Jason. Thanks, man. Paul, Thank you, man. I really appreciate that. It means a lot. Guys, I don't see any other questions. I believe we've reached the end. So unless anything else, barring anything else coming in, I think we can wrap this one up. Again, guys, this is all recorded. So you can always go back and check out the recording if you missed anything or anybody had to jump out early or anything like that. Or maybe you jumped in a little bit late and you want to catch the beginning of this. I'll get that out to you guys tomorrow as well. So, guys, let's see. Brandon S is another one, Ashley, to look into. Oh, she says she's got that. Okay. Or Ashley sees all the questions as well too, so that's cool. And again, if you, we'll send out another email now for the next wave of people, so you'll get that. And if you don't, I'll be up for another 30 minutes to another hour. Jason at MzeroA.com, just like you see it here, or M the number 0, the letter A.com. You can hit me up there as well if you still need help, or there's the support form on the website as well. If you still need help getting those books. So guys, I say we call it a night on that note. Guys, thank you so much for all you guys do. You guys really don't realize what a huge blessing you are to myself, my beautiful wife, the wonderful team here at MzeroA.com, the wonderful business. You guys are the reason we have such a wonderful business. Our goal every day, guys, is to create safer, smarter pilots. We get up so early, we stay up so late, we do all the crazy things we do for you guys to help make you safer and smarter. And I hope that comes across as very sincere, and I hope that shows without me even having to tell you guys that. So hope to see you guys at Sun and Fun Oshkosh throughout 2014 on the speaking tour. Guys, enjoy the rest of your night, and most importantly, guys, remember that a good pilot is always learning. Have a great night, guys. See ya.